Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of the Spirit Box with Avani, Heather, and Vale. In this podcast, we talk about all things paranormal and true crime related while desperately attempting to stay on topic. If that sounds like fun to you, then take a seat, turn the lights on, and join us for this episode of Oosp. Yeah, that was a lot of ghost spoons there. Avani, I think it's your turn to spend your ghost spoons.
Oh, I have to okay. So I will do this one first, and then I'll do the other one because the other one I'm gonna have to mark down for you to mark out geographic locations.
Yep. All right.
Mark out geographic locations.
It's so much easier if I tell you guys where I live and not the world.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay, so
I was like, do you want her to get a map? Like, what?
No. Okay, so I drew a diagram this time because when I first told Heather the story, I felt like it was a little muddled trying to explain this townhouse I lived in.
We get visuals.
It is on the back of pure, this is 110% I grew up in the 90s behavior. It is on the back of an envelope.
Me too, bitch!
Yes, I still get paper bills. I like it that way, otherwise they don't exist. Fuck off.
It's great.
Okay, so I moved out on my own, I think when I was like 21 or 22. And I moved in with my ex, who is the same one I ended up living with after he cheated with me and moved the girlfriend in. Different story. But just
Different story for another podcast.
Yeah. Just so we're aware of the whole sitch. But this is early in our relationship. Like, we had been dating for a while. So his family, so it's his mom, his stepdad, and his sister, lived in a townhouse. And the unit next to them was empty. And I wanted to move out. I didn't want to live at home anymore. So we moved in to this townhouse next to them. So this is important because you now know I have access to both sides of the townhouse. I have key, both sides. I know who lives next to me very well. So we move into this townhouse. And this is the first floor of the townhouse. This is the back of the house. This is the front of the house. So we always entered through the back, right? So dining room, living room, kitchen, stairs to the second floor, right? And then
I couldn't remember the word living room, and I swear to God, I was like, sofa room?
it works too. It's where the sofa goes. So then upstairs, just so we're on the same page, stairs, right? When you get to the top of the stairs to the bathroom, our bedroom, a spare bedroom that a lot of people crashed in drunk, and then an office that I never used, but used the closet for clothing storage. So
As it goes.
As it goes. So we moved in, and it's an older house, so I expected, like, the creaks and the pops and the whatever. And then their house is an exact mirror of ours. So, right, so where our steps are on the shared wall is where their steps are on the shared wall. It's just a mirror. So, it's kind of started out with just, like, hearing people walking around, and I always kind of, like, brushed it off. Because people lived next door to me. I just assumed it was always them if I was home alone. Because it was just him and I living in this house. And one day I had come home. I worked retail at the time, so my schedule was kind of wonky. And one day I came home and I was the only one there. Like, nobody was home in either house. And I came in, got something to eat, went upstairs, changed my clothes, came downstairs, plopped on the couch to watch TV. And I start hearing footsteps. And normally I'm like, oh, stairs, but there's no stair creaking. Like, this was directly above my head, like, in the office spare room area. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, whatever. And it happened several times. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, there's something in the house. It's just walking around. It's probably, like, some residual bullshit. It's never fucked with me, whatever. Like, I never talked about it. I never did anything about it. I was just like, whatever, it's there. Cool. And then things increasingly started to get weirder. I would, like, have this feeling of dread constantly. When I was in the house, like, I'd be fine. If I left the house, I was fine. And I would start to wake up in the middle of the night with absolute fear. And not fear like panic attack fear, because I know that fear. But, like, I could feel somebody standing behind me. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I, like...
Yeah, no. I hate that. I hate it so much.
And I was like, and I would be like, okay, don't roll over. I don't care how bad your back hurts. Don't roll over. If you roll over, you're going to see something you don't want to see.
Lucky you. I did roll over.
And I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And this was happening and happening and happening, like, multiple times a week. I was waking up like this, feeling this. I would feel like something cold kind of on my back, and then it would go away. I mean, I, at this point, was fucked up. And I got to the point where I wouldn't really sleep at night. I would only kind of sleep during the day. And I started not even wanting to sleep upstairs in my bed, and I would sleep downstairs on the couch. This is where the diagram gets handy. So, okay, so I am knocked out right about here. So there's the front door, the stairs from upstairs, and then the kitchen. And this actually is drawn badly. It's a straight shot back. Like, you can see out this back door straight from the front. So I woke up. Well, I'm not sure if I woke up. I fell asleep on the couch. When I believe I woke up, everything was exactly how it was when I fell asleep. Like, my cup was in the same place on the table. The same thing was running on Netflix. Like, everything was exactly as it was when I fell asleep, with the exception of the creepy demon girl that was standing in the doorway at the bottom of my stairs. And she was you guys, she looked like I could reach out and touch her. Like, every detail of her was there, except she seemed darker than, like, if a little girl was standing in front of you. Like, she seemed almost like she was kind of just grayscale. And I, in a very stuttered voice, said, "Who are you?" She tells me her name is Raven, so that was nice. And I said, "Where did you come from?" And she points straight out my back door. And I'm like...
I don't remember these details.
Oh, I do! And I said, and again, I'm very stuttered. Like, I am trembling in fear. And I said, "Are you lost?" Because my brain is thinking, not ghost child, little girl wandered in off street, I left door unlocked, bad decision making. And she said, "Yes."
Fucking Wednesday Addams just shows up at the bottom of your staircase.
Yeah, except she was a little colonial looking.
Hey, little girl, why are you in black and white?
And so I walked to the back door, and this is when I realize everything is off. Yeah, not the demon girl when I get to the back door. Because there are cars there, and there shouldn't be. They're also facing the wrong direction. And I finally, at this point, like, shake myself out of it. And I honestly can't remember, like, I cannot remember if shaking myself out of it happened at the door, or if it was, like, some sort of weird dream world thing that happened to me. But I've never been more terrified in my life. Like, nothing.
Yeah, for good reason.
Yeah.
Fucking...
has scared me more than Demon Girl. She's probably not a demon. She was probably genuinely a very lost little girl that needed help. But I was very scared.
Yeah, no shit.
So this happened twice. But after the first time that it happened, I was next door talking to my boyfriend at the time, his mom. And I said, "Look, I need to ask you something, and it's gonna sound nuts. But I gotta tell you something that happened because I don't know who to talk to, and I'm freaking out." So I tell her, you know, I've heard footsteps, all this stuff I just told you guys. Little less detail on the demon girl. And she looks at me and she's like, "All right, look, I don't believe in this stuff, but one day I was home, and remember their house is laid out the exact same as mine. So if you're in the bedroom, if your bed's in the right spot, you can see the stairs. And that's how their room was set up. Mine was not. She said she was sitting in bed one day. Her daughter was at school. Her husband was at work. And she saw somebody come up the stairs and go past the bedroom door. And she called out to her daughter, like, hey, why are you home from school? And the kid didn't answer. And so she got up and went in her daughter's room, and she was not there. She said, I just got back in bed. So at that point, I was like, okay, there really is something here. There's really something in this building. And I felt a little less crazy about what had happened to me, that it wasn't me, I wasn't losing it, so to speak. But after that, it only got worse. And it was absolute, this went on for 9 months. It was just absolute fear and dread and uncomfortable. So I told my boyfriend finally, I'm like, I've heard all this stuff in the house. I want to move. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I'm uncomfortable. And this is after the second, whole demon girl thing. And he's like, you're crazy. That's not real. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, like, it is. I talked to your mom. Your mom's seen shit in their side of the house. Like,
all I'm saying is when your significant other doesn't fucking believe you, fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch forever.
This was like only in the first year of our almost 3-year relationship. So just imagine what I put myself through.
Shit.
So
fuck that bitch. If you don't fucking believe me, God, no.
So at the time, once a week I went to my mom's house for dinner, and then like we had a TV show we really liked to watch, so we'd watch that together, and then I'd go home. So he had, I think he was home alone. I don't know if he did something before that, but I know that he was home alone. And he called me 15, 20 minutes before I was going to leave my mom's house. And he's like, hey, what time did you get off work? And I'm like, I'm not working tonight. I'm at mom's. He's like, oh, well, I'm in the parking garage at the shopping center. I said, well, why? Like, what the fuck are you waiting for me? We didn't have plans. And this is back when we used to, like, go out and drink all the time. So,
yeah.
He's like, I heard it. There is something in the house.
Fuck that bitch times 2.
Yeah, right?
Now you believe it because you heard it?
Yeah, right?
Go fuck yourself, you little...
So, I was like, okay, I'll meet you there when I'm done. We'll talk about it. And basically it was just, he was like sitting downstairs and he thought he heard someone walking around. And I think he maybe had just gotten home. And we kept a compound bow in the living room. Self-defense. So I think we also had like a bat or something. But anyway, he picked it up and he was just kind of waiting for a little bit and didn't hear anything. So he went upstairs and checked the house out and there was nothing there. And his parents weren't home next door. And his sister wasn't home. So we're like, okay, cool. So we're moving, right? Can we move now? I was like, can we move? So yeah, so we broke our lease and we moved because I couldn't take it anymore.
Now there is one detail that you told me that you didn't mention in this.
Proceed.
And it's about, in particular, what you thought you would see if you did turn around.
Oh, I mean, I was sure that it was a man. And I was sure that it would be kind of colonial era.
I mean, if the little girl was a little colonial.
Yeah. And so I've had some suspicions about what it could have been, because he seemed very menacing. I felt very uncomfortable and legitimately terrified whenever I thought he was around. And he seemed
very oppressing.
Yeah, and he seemed upstairs-ish. Um,
Your cat just scared the shit out of me.
how would he get on the tower?
Yes.
Something moved out of the corner, like right behind you, and I was like, "What's that?" And it was the cat. And then I saw Heather,
Oh, but see,
her soul jumped out of her body when that
Yeah,
cat
it
jumped.
really did.
do you remember the episode
Like, it's happening.
when we were recording Heather and Mark just popped up behind me and I flat out fucking squealed? This is why I face the door now. Yeah, so I don't know. After we moved out, I did some light research on the house. But I was still pretty traumatized at that point to want to know too much. The house was at least 100 years old. So in that area, the area I live in is very colonial. So it's a lot of battles, a lot of history happened here. So I would not be surprised if there was some sort of battle, in the area. It was near train tracks. So I didn't dig too deep because honestly, like, I don't even know to this day if I want to know what it was. She seemed scared. The girl seemed
Maybe she was also
scared.
oppressed by him. Maybe he got her stuck.
Yeah. And that was one of my fears, is that it was something a lot darker and they were connected. And that's part of why I didn't want to dig too deep. So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing still kind of skeeves me out.
I will say you held it together better this time than the first time you told the story.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been working on it.
Yeah, she looked very uncomfortable. It was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think part of it is that I already kind of got over that I'm telling this publicly thing.
yeah.
Because my ex really did make me feel crazy. He really did make me feel like I was over exaggerating and it was my anxiety. And I probably made myself feel that way some too. But he didn't help it at all. And then you are literally in this situation where you're like, I don't care. I am begging you, can we please move?
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Fuck that bitch.
You're a little crazy for staying that goddamn long.
9 months.
You're not crazy from what you saw.
I had fucking ghosts for a few months and not consecutively. And I found a lot of ways to get this shit out.
Yeah, and I didn't know that much. I mean, honestly, I wasn't super educated. I knew some stuff from, some adventures as a teenager, but I didn't really know enough to do anything about it. I just thought, okay, if I ignore it, then it'll be fine. And it was not fine. Like,
It was not fun.
That's great, because I did that too. I was like, nah, fucking ignore. It's not happening. It's gone. It's not there.
Yeah.
And then it just, it creeps up on you.
well, and I think
It will get you eventually.
Yeah, because there's no, like, when you literally wake up and you have this feeling of dread, it's exuding from every inch of your body. Like, it's gonna feed off of that no matter what. So...
With our thing, it happened to me, and it happened to the neighbor in the duplex. We
Yeah.
both were being our energy was being sucked out from us.
Yeah.
We weren't even the same people anymore.
Yeah, I was a nervous wreck all the time. I never wanted to be home. So I was constantly going out, taking extra shifts at work. I especially didn't want to be home alone. So even to the point, because his little sister was in high school. So even to the point where if she was off school, I'd be like, you want to come hang out? You want to do something? Because I can't...
I don't want to be here alone.
Yeah, I never told her. I don't recall ever telling her when she was that young. I don't know if I told her when she was an adult, to be honest. But
Would you brought her to the house?
she lived in the duplex right next to me.
Oh, the little girl?
The sister.
The sister.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but I haven't... the many apartments I have lived after that, I haven't had anything happen. I
That was a straight up
refuse.
haunted house.
Yeah, I refused to talk about it in the apartment we moved to right after because I was like, I don't know if this thing came with me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't want to fucking find out.
Well, my cursed ass has to wait and see every few months if something new's gonna pop up.
Have to wait and see. Uh, yeah, that's some bullshit.
It's like my ghost, at least in this house, has been very quiet. Like after the exorcism, it's been very quiet. Nothing new has happened. But you
Well,
never know when something new is gonna pop up.
Yeah.
let's hope that bitch stays quiet. How about that?
This is what dreams
Hope
are
that
made of.
This is what dreams are made of. Like, sometimes can't consume so much spooky content anymore because then I'm just like my brain will be suggested to spooky things and think things are happening sometimes, and I know that's what it is, and I have to like constantly tell myself, it's like, maybe you should stop watching X or Y thing right now.
Yeah.
But like growing up, my mom always would be like, my mom hates if I watch spooky things because she's like you're asking for this, huh? Like, no, I'm not. I just like hearing about stuff. She's like, you know this shit can happen to you. And I was like, yeah. Maybe you shouldn't be consuming so much spooky content, especially in a house that's already been haunted. And I'm like, I mean, you have a point, but...
But at the same time, I want to be prepared, Mom. This is research.
Get yourself, yeah. You're like, all right, if I hear this whispered to me in the night, I know it's probably this bitch.
If it looks like this, it's probably this, and these are the priests I
Yeah.
need to call. Let's get a shaman. Fuck it, let's bring the Jews too.
Let's get them all. Let's go down the yellow pages and find them all.
Yup.
Yeah.
Call them all in.
Yeah, so that's my worst experience. That's the worst thing.
Sounds very familiar.
I'm very glad I didn't roll over.
understand.
When you were telling your story, I was like, oh fuck, I'm so glad I didn't roll over. Like,
Who knows?
I had this imprint in my mind of what this thing would have looked like when I rolled over, and I refused. I was like, I don't fucking want
I
to
had
see
no idea what I was gonna see when I rolled over. I didn't know what spooky things were. I just rolled the fuck over.
Yeah, I was in my early 20s. You were a kid.
I was a child.
Yeah.
Vale, this question isn't so much for you because this is just your life, apparently. But
It's just your life.
how much time would you say you spent, like, remembering or thinking about that time, Avani? Or do you just try to avoid all thoughts of it ever?
Yeah, it's mostly that. Like,
Yeah.
I think when I consume that kind of content, sometimes I relate it back, but generally I don't want to or try to revisit it because like just that point in my life as a person and what I was going through personally was kind of shitty. And it was also like, I mean, it literally bred fear into me every minute of my day.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. You say this is my life, but other than when we're here, I'm not thinking about any of these things that have happened. I'm never just like sitting in bed thinking about, remember that time that I almost shit myself from fear? Well, no.
I know, like, you know, I'm sure everybody has these moments where you're just kind of like fucking around with your day and you're like, huh, that time that I saw that thing.
I think
what I'll do sometimes will be like sitting here and be thinking, what if something were to, like, okay, what would happen if that door just suddenly opened? What would I do?
Oh,
But I wouldn't
yeah,
have those
yeah.
thoughts.
Well,
I don't think to myself about what had already happened. I'd be thinking, what would happen if what would I do if that door opened right now?
it also
Typically, the answer is I'll shit myself.
I will say it did change the way I think about things. Like every house I've moved into, I know the sounds of the doors opening. I know what it sounds like when somebody goes up the stairs. So if I think I hear something, it still kind of incites a little bit of anxiety in me. And I'm like, okay, stop, slow down. Did you hear the door open? No. You know the sound of the door opening. Stop, slow down. Did you hear somebody on the steps? No, those weren't your steps. Those were the neighbor's step. Like, I can walk myself through that. And then I'm like, oh, okay, everything's fine. Nobody's in the house. We're cool. And go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like since mine also, I could hear footsteps walking through the house. Now I know exactly what it sounds like when someone walks through the house, and I know what it sounds like when my neighbors are walking through their house. Because before, I used to say it was the neighbors, and I was like, oh, it's the neighbors walking through the house, when it was just footsteps going through the house.
Yeah.
It's a completely different sound. Or, oh, I heard a door open. And sometimes I still will get scared and check the doors, because I'm never sure anymore about the doors. Because my back doors were opening by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck your doors.
So, like, the front door has particular sound, and I know anytime the front door opens, and I can hear when, like, the pressure of the house moves when the neighbor opens the door. But the back door still gives me pause when I hear it open, because I'm like, is it opening by itself, or is that a sound of something else opening?
Yeah. Well, and when
I mean... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I first move in somewhere, I always leave boxes in front of the doors when I sleep for the first little while. Because because I don't know the noises yet, I know the noise of a box sliding across a tile floor. I've heard that a million times. Or I'll understand the noise of a door hitting a box. So then that's kind of like, those are the little things I've done to help myself deal with that discomfort.
So you remember when I moved in here and put the boxes in front of the door? I never heard when the boxes moved.
Ugh.
See, and that's when you know it's a ghosty.
Like, I never heard when the boxes moved and the door opened. I didn't even hear when the door opened. I would just find it open.
Do you think the
those boxes were, like, filled of books and shit, so it's not like, oh, it's a little fucking notepad and let me slide it across the table.
Do you think the ghost lifted the boxes? Moved them out of the way and then fucking slammed open the door?
Well, the thing is it could have been so slow.
Oh, yeah.
That you wouldn't hear it.
Oh, somehow it moving slow is scarier.
If I would have seen it, I don't think I'd live here anymore. If I
would have shit myself.
No. Like, all the rest of the things were just enough where I was scared but stayed.
Yeah.
But if I would have seen boxes move slight centimeters at a fucking time. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, obviously anytime it's dark in this room, I hate it. It's the first thing I think of is seeing that shadow. And I'm always like, well, what happens if I see it? Fucking run, motherfucker. That's what I'm gonna do.
I get to shake hands with these little guys.
I hate it. I hate that. Don't do that. It really it's trippy as fuck, dude.
I think if we ever get a real studio, then we should just cover one wall in hands for Heather.
I hate that. I don't like that idea at all.
I'm trying to get my hand the same size as this hand. Oh, so hard.
That's a pretty big hand, to be honest.
My hand's really fucking big. You ain't seen me in real life, but these are big hands. Like, if I smack you, you're gonna be in last week because...
Slap you into last week, bitch. Is that what you tell the ghosts when they come around? I'm gonna slap you in last week.
It's like, I see the ghosts like, fucking square up.
Oh, man. I still can't believe you walked through a shadow figure.
I was subscribing to the fact that if it knows you're scared, which is stupid, because I was still scared and hyperventilating and shaking, all it had to do was open the door if it really wanted to.
I don't think it had to open the door.
Since it was in the doorway, I think it was in the room. I just walked through it and closed the door.
You literally closed the door on it.
And then
I closed the door on it.
Yeah.
And it was like, damn, what a rude bitch. And he left. Or it left, because I still don't know what it was.
And that's the thing, like, with whatever was behind me, I don't know why I've decided that it was a man, or it has any of the traits that I've decided it has, but it's just how I felt.
Like, even though it gives me male energy, I still think it's the wife. of the family
Yeah.
that lived here before, and I don't know why. Even though it doesn't give me wife energy, it gives me male energy.
It doesn't give me wife energy.
It doesn't give me wife energy.
Ugh.
No, it's funny because thinking about it, whenever I do get kind of freaked out walking into this room or I do pause if the room is completely black and I have to like come in here and I'm like, oh God, I need to make it to the light switch. But that's kind of what I do is I just like kind of put my head down and go, all right, to the lights.
May I suggest getting yourself an Alexa and connecting it to your lights?
You know,
And then you can just yell it into the room.
I haven't gotten there yet, but I want to.
That's literally all of our lights that matter are connected to that because I personally refuse to get out of bed to turn a light off.
That's good planning, man. I don't.
So
Oh my God, there's a TikTok of like everything we all go through, and it has a scene where you're turning off lights and you're running up the stairs and people are chasing you. It's so relatable.
during that time that the ghost was in this house or whatever it was inside this house, I had this little hockey puck.
Uh-huh.
It's not out of batteries because I made sure there's no batteries in this thing. And randomly it would turn on by itself.
Nope.
So I actually took a picture of it and I took a whole like Snapchat and I sent it to my best friend when it happened the first time. I was laying in bed watching TV and all of a sudden I see a light and I was like, what is that? And I turned my head and I could see past this because right here is my TV
Mm-hmm.
and then behind that is my bed.
Yep.
So it's
I
a
just came
straight
up with
shot
the
to the
topic.
wall. And here's there's like little things on the shelves and these little lights that pop up and shine down on the things on the shelves. And this thing just randomly turned on and I took my phone, I was recording it, and I was like, look at that shit. Look at how the fuck did that thing turn on? And then it just turns off.
So
I'm
you
like,
have to press it? You have to click
yeah,
it?
you like can you
Yeah, you can hear the click.
Oh my gosh.
you have to click it to turn on. I made sure this shit doesn't have any batteries because that shit's never happened to me again. Because what if it was faulty wiring? We don't know. It could have been faulty wiring. It just happened to be happening while I was being haunted, and this was the only one that turned on.
Do you remember if you hear the clicking?
I didn't hear the clicking. I just saw the light. Choop.
Yeah, but also if she was watching TV, she may have never heard the click because it's not that loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not super loud, and I was like watching TV. But what's actually kind of funny is, so what it was shining on was the little
Oh,
Pac-Man
was your
ghost.
little Pac-Man ghost.
I don't know if I'd be mad or happy about that.
I find it amusing.
Little Pac-Man ghost.
I find it amusing not in the situation, but if I was in the situation, I would probably be pissed. I'd be like, "Don't tell me this."
It just so happens that it was next to the little Pac-Man ghost. It's not next to the car. It's not next to those anime figures. It's not next to a Game Boy Color. No. It's a little Pac-Man ghost.
I think that's just rude.
That's
honestly.
fantastic. Oh,
So yeah, those are all our little personal experience stories that we care to talk about.
Can't really care to talk about. It's true. There's certain things I don't talk about that have happened, and I choose not to share.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially things that I've seen happen to other people, but I'm not going to share because they're not my personal stories.
Yeah.
Like, I will give, like, a short little thing that I do think is kind of interesting, because I did mention earlier that my mom had performed an exorcism.
Uh-huh.
So one time when my mom performed an exorcism, afterwards she came home, and her jewelry had oxidized.
Wow.
What the fuck?
And I thought that was, like, it's interesting because I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, whatever happened. She did the thing. And when she came home, her jewelry was like years had passed. They were like oxidized. They had that little sheen on them.
The jewelry she was wearing during
The jewelry she was wearing.
What the fuck?
It's crazy. And
Listen,
at that time, I wasn't even like, oh, that's scary. I was like, holy crap, that's so cool. How does that happen?
listen, when I was a teenager, I was super interested in the paranormal. It started in middle school. And I remember when we used to have free time on the computers in middle school, I would look up stuff about the paranormal, and there was this one like library ghost where they had like pictures and stuff. I remember looking at that stuff. I watched a ton of ghost hunting shows at the time. Slowed down a lot since becoming an adult and losing my hopes and dreams to capitalism. But I swear to God, like I don't know if it's just because I know you two, but the stories you're telling me, especially that shit mail, is so crazy that I'm like, damn, ghosts really do exist, 100%. Damn.
I don't think
And
there's.
it's so crazy though, because I'm like, I'll tell a story and then I'll hear a story and I'm like, nah, that's not real. Ghosts don't exist. But then what
Yeah.
about my stories? What the fuck am I talking about?
Don't
I
exist.
I don't think there's ever been a time where I didn't think ghosts existed. I'm just very skeptical about what people chalk down as experiences and evidence.
Like,
So you,
I'm
yeah,
super skeptical. Like, I am so like the bar has to be up here. You have to reach this amount of fucking evidence to me to be like, yeah, that's something. But then I talk shit and I'll tell my stories and I'm like, there's so many holes people could poke into this.
But that's part of kind of what we're doing when we talk about it and ask each other questions is, well, wait a minute, because you were in this, let me ask this. Like, that's why I asked you
well,
if he ever smoked in the house.
Because he wasn't alive when the house was built.
Right, because smoke seeps into things, especially wood and fabric, and depending on the moisture in a home can release and you'll smell it. Like the wall that I share with my neighbors where our washer dryer is and theirs is, I can smell cigarette smoke through that wall. We don't smoke, but they do. So that's why I asked that question.
Oh, there's also in Puerto Rico, houses aren't made of they're made of solid cement.
Ah.
Oh.
They're not made of wood, they're not made of drywall.
Wow,
They're made of cinder blocks and cement.
That puts a huge hole in that theory.
But again, the house was not built when he was alive. So there was no way he was going to smoke inside a house that the land was empty.
Were you guys the first to inhabit that house?
No, there was a family that lived in that house before. They built it and they sold it to us.
Hmm.
But that would that'd still have to be a hell of a coincidence, and something would still have to be there that seeped that. It's like, I mean, with what I experienced, you could very easily say that it was psychological.
I mean, with what happened in this particular house where I live now in Florida, I sometimes like, oh yeah, it was me. It was my feelings at the time because I was going through some things. Maybe that I projected that as something happening, but then it's like, oh, it happened to me and it happened to this girl.
Yeah.
And why the fuck did we have the exact same thing happen at the same time? And then someone across the street tell us that something happened. Like,
It's a hell of a coincidence.
Yeah, it's quite a coincidence. It's kind of the one where I thought my dad was at the door of my bedroom as a child. That one I could just be like, oh, I was just fucking sleepy.
Yeah.
Right.
Harold the ghost. Funny as shit.
It makes that actually makes me giggle because so when we lived in that house and all that was going on, we couldn't have pets, but we said, fuck it, we'll get a hamster. Because you can hide.
Harold?
The hamster was named Harold.
Oh, shut up.
He was Harold the hamster.
Sarah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just haven't had any personal experiences, and I think that's the nature of something like this, where you can't see it.
Yeah.
Definitively, that has ever tipped me over to 100% ghosts exist. There was a time when I fully believed it, but as I got older, I started to question it due to like psychology and just the science of things. Um, so it's pretty rare that I hear things and I feel like shaken at my core where I'm just like, I don't know what that could have been. I don't know.
I like telling you guys stories and seeing Heather's face like she has fully spooked in her soul.
Oh, I'm a spooked
I'll
bitch.
tell you something and you're like,
Well,
you grab onto both hands of the fucking chair like,
Yeah.
the worst I've had happen to me is seeing a shadow and getting some feelings. Like, you know? Like, so your guys' stories are like, what the fuck? Especially yours. What the fuck?
So it sounds like we're gonna go find a broken down haunted asylum, check it out
fuck that shit.
in the middle of the day.
Don't take me. Don't take me.
I'm down
I'm
to
not
go.
bringing that back with me. That's gonna
No,
attack on me.
I didn't finish. I didn't finish.
Okay.
And
No,
then we're
you're
gonna
not sending me in by
Your ghost is
myself.
piggyback riding me, okay?
and then we're gonna go skinny dipping in some holy water.
Okay.
No, I would be
I
down.
already drowned once. I could do it again.
Honestly, I have this weird fascination with abandoned hospitals. But anyway,
Oh, but she hates when we go to one and devour.
yo, fuck Devour. Okay. No, I would totally be down to go to a place in the middle of the daytime, but
I'd still be chicken shit. I'm just telling you right now. I'll be like, I'll stay
I'll
here
wait
and fly
outside.
the drone.
No, that's my job. I'll stay outside, watch you two go inside, and I'll wait for you guys to come back. Because you guys,
but
the most you're gonna do is get scared. Me, a ghost is gonna sit on my back and just fucking ride my shoulders all the way into my house.
yeah, I wouldn't even feel comfortable with you going inside just with the bit of skepticism I have. I'd be like,
We'll put Vale in the bar across the street.
I'll have a little drone and I'll fly it around behind you with a little camera,
yeah,
making sure that I document what's going on.
yeah. I mean,
She'll
honestly,
write down every time we cuss so that she can bleep out at least a third of them.
I've said for years, that I would be terrified, but I just want one experience to be mine, for me to know that I can be like, yep, ghost, they're alive, they're here, they're done. That's it.
I don't
That's
need
it.
anything else. I'm done. Peace
Like-
out.
I feel like if we were to go to an asylum and I went with you guys, I think Heather would get her wish.
Great. You guys go in. I'll fly the drone.
No.
I'll man the snack table.
Okay, again, it has to be during the day.
It's funny.
There'll
because
be
when I
day
was a
themed
teen-
snacks.
Day themed snacks.
When I was a teenager, my oldest best friend, Laura, she's like, oh, let's go to a haunted house. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I was always like, yeah. And now as an adult, and I'm like looking back at all the shit that happened to me, I'm like, no. No.
But it's funny because as I've gotten older, there is a direct correlation to I'm not fucking doing that shit anymore and skepticism. Like, the older I get, the more skeptic I get, the more I think you're talking bullshit, the more I question you, but also the less willing I am to go do that dumb shit.
Exactly. Because I'll watch like any ghost hunting show and be like, bullshit. This is bullshit. You just need things to be on camera so it looks and catches people's attention. You're all a bunch of lies. But it's like, oh, do you want to go there? No, you can't pay me.
No. Like, if you find my grandma as a ghost, then she's just gonna be making pasta sauce and cookies, and I'm 110% in. Okay? But if you're like, hey, you want to come to this hospital where there's this really pissed off guy? No, thank you. No. I'll go hang out with Jeff, who's knitting a sweater in Ghostland, before I will do that shit.
Well, it's not like I would want to go someplace that it's like demons. No, I would. I just want, somebody to like whisper in my ear some spooky shit.
I can
and then
do
I'll
that for
fucking
you. I can do that for you.
Shit myself and leave. That's the.
Okay.
I'll call Jack. He'll whisper some spooky shit in your ear, and you
No,
guys
they
can.
have to be incorporeal.
I will get him a white sheet.
The thing
No,
about
yeah.
having Jack whisper in her ear, so one time during a different haunting, not here, different place, different time, different story, not told yet. I was like really scared at the time, and I got a text message. I every time I see the cat, I see Heather like having some reactions.
I need your cat to just not.
His dad's home and he's happy.
But yeah, like the I got a text message and it said look behind you, and I have never spun around so quickly, so fast. Now the crazy thing is, what was behind me was a solid cement wall. I still turn around like, what's behind me?
Nope, I would throw up.
If I got that text and I did it, like, I would still, yeah.
Nope. Nope.
I was so scared. Nothing happened. But I was already scared, and then I got a text, look behind you, and I spun around. I almost broke my neck. I looked like a fucking owl.
I think if somebody sent me a text that said look behind you and I was already freaked out, I would just sit down and just pretend everything didn't exist around me. I would just fucking go within myself.
That's
My response was,
coping
you dirty
mechanism.
motherfucker, I hope you die. Shut the fuck up, never text me again. Send.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked what you heard and want to hang out with us some more, be sure to check out our page where you can find links to our other shows and projects. Bye!
I'm keeping all the
I don't know
laughter.
why I had to do that. Nobody's watching! Alright, y'all.
Alright. Stop.